Hi everybody, Hassan Shariq, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, back with another video on Canadian immigration. My prayers and wishes that all of you, along with your families, are doing really well wherever in the world you are. Today's video is about the important topic of Canadian study permit refusal, the reasons for Canadian study permit refusals, and what to do if you've got one such refusal. For details on this, stay tuned till the end of the video. Canada is a major study destination. Hundreds of thousands of international students study in Canada at any given time, and there's a large number of applications that Canadian colleges and universities and other educational institutions receive every year. And with that, international students, those who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents, are required to obtain a study permit or a Canadian study visa before they can commence their study in Canada. Now, with such a large amount of applications coming in, there's a bit of rejection on these applications as well. People from certain parts of the world, certain countries and certain regions feel that Canadian study permit application is a difficult application to get through, as they have a high rejection rate, which can be true or not so true depending on what angle you look at it. In today's video, first I'll give you a few of the major reasons for Canadian study permit refusals, and then we'll have a look at what steps can be taken once you had a refusal on a Canadian study permit. So first, let's look at the major reasons for Canadian study permit refusal. So the first reason for which a lot of Canadian study permit refusals are made is that the officer is not confident that you will return back to your home country once the validity of your study permit ends. Now, keep in mind that Canadian study permit is a temporary resident permit, temporary resident visa, where you're expected to stay in Canada for a short term, a specific time frame, and then return back to your home country. Also keep in mind that it is specifically for a purpose, and the purpose is like your expected visit or stay in Canada is for a purpose, and the purpose is to complete your studies in Canada and then return back. Now, if you are not able to establish these two in a good enough manner, then the officer can reject your visa on the basis that they feel that you will not return back. If in your application you've provided all the documents but you've not been able to connect these dots, that you're only here for the purpose of your study, and once you complete your study, it's only after that that you'll think about other options, and you will look at leaving Canada at the end of that allowed time period, most likely you will have a rejection on your application, and this is one of the biggest reasons for Canadian study permit application. The second major reason is where the officer is not really convinced about the selection of course or study that you're intending to do in Canada. Now, as already discussed, the prime purpose of granting you a Canadian study permit or this temporary visa is that you have applied, and your argument is that you need to gain education in Canada from a quality educational institution, and your expectation is that on completion of this study, this will help you professionally increase your standing, so that once you go back to your home country, your employment or your work prospects will increase. Now, if you're not able to establish this through documentary evidence, then if everything else is in place, they cannot grant you a visa because your purpose of traveling to Canada is not convincing enough. And this is the second biggest reason where officers reject applications when they feel that the purpose of visit is not really clear, or it is not what somebody is presenting or asking it for. So if they feel that study is not the primary reason, they'll reject this application because this is a Canadian study permit application. The third big reason for rejection is where the officers feel that everything else is fine, but where they feel that you probably do not have strong enough ties with your home country. Now, this could be for a variety of reasons. This could be because they feel that you do not have a lot of family in your home country, or probably your economic standing within your home country is not all that strong enough, or there is an expectation that the kind of qualification that you're looking to do in Canada, there's not a lot of demand for that in your home country. So connecting this with the first thing that I mentioned, that Canadian study permit is a temporary visa. So the expectation is that there has to be a likelihood, after considering a few factors, your family situation, your employment situation, all these things related to the situation in your home country, that will you likely return back to your home country. So if the officer is confident with evidence that you provided through your study plan or statement of purpose that yes, there is strong enough ties with your home country compared with Canada, they will accept your application. Otherwise it will be rejected, and hence this is the third biggest reason for Canadian study permit refusals. Now that we've had a look at the three big reasons for Canadian study permit refusal, let's have a look at few options or the course of action that one should take if you have had a refusal on your study permit application. So first up, if you have a study permit refusal, usually you get a letter which is a very templated kind of letter, wherein you see these bullets which mention that these are the reasons for which your application has been refused. And as I mentioned, these are templated kind of reasoning where you do not really get in-depth knowledge. So the first step that you should take is apply for ATIP or GCMS notes. Now these are notes which will provide you detail on all the processing that has happened in the background on your application. This will have the exact reasoning, the statements inserted by the visa officer who has worked on your file, and why he or she felt that your application was not convincing enough for them to grant you a study permit. These ATIP notes, GCMS notes, are to be applied by somebody who's based in Canada. Our firm offers this as a paid task, so if you are interested in that, you can definitely write to us and we can obtain this application, this report for you, and we can also provide some guidance to you as to what these notes mean and what could be done for your application. But this can be applied by anybody who's in Canada. So if you have a friend or a family member who's based in Canada, even they can apply on your behalf for these ATIP notes. It takes a few weeks. Usually these days it's taking about a month or so for study permit refusal ATIP notes. So that should be your first task. Obtain the ATIP/GCMS notes. After that you've had your ATIP notes, you will be in a better position to pinpoint the exact reasoning. So it is very important that once you have these notes, you read it thoroughly or maybe have it discussed with a professional, so that one can highlight the important weaknesses in your application, and then based on those weaknesses we can look at, or you yourself can look at presenting a better application next time around. After this, you have the option of reapplication. So under the Canadian immigration law, there is no option of going for an appeal for a Canadian study permit refusal, although there are options where an application could be submitted, or you could apply for what is called a reconsideration. That has to be done very quickly, and it has to be a very well drafted reconsideration letter. Usually it is RCICs or immigration lawyers who draft this and submit that, and sometimes if there is a factual error in assessment of your application, just with this reconsideration application, your application or the decision can be overturned and you can have a better decision. Or if there are multiple reasons for rejection, some of the reasons could actually be dropped. Now, once you've decided based on your ATIP notes that you would want to reapply, it is time to work on your application, wherein maybe you are required to submit more documents to support your application. The three major reasons that I mentioned to you earlier in the video, wherein you have to establish that clearly you are looking at staying in Canada for a short time period. A lot of people ask that there are a lot of permanent residence applications available in Canada. Why shouldn't they be considering that? See, those applications, those permanent residence streams are available. The government would want Canadian graduates to opt for those options, but at this stage you're applying for studies in Canada, and that should be your focus. You should choose the institution, you should choose study destination, you should choose the program based on the professional outcomes out of this planned study of yours in Canada. You should not be using a study option to move into an immigration stream or a permanent residence stream. Once you complete your study, you have the option of applying for a postgraduate work permit. You then have the option of applying for permanent residence, but that is a decision that should be made once you complete your studies in Canada. So you have to establish through a statement of purpose or through documents that first you will stay in Canada for a temporary period, for a specific period, and on completion of that, you're looking at returning back. The second thing that you have to work on is your study plan. A lot of times it is in study plans that people have these gaps. So through your study plan or what is generally known as statement of purpose, you have to establish that you made an informed decision, wherein first of all, you have to show that why is that Canada was the final destination that you picked. There are other countries like USA, like Australia, like UK, many other places which have quality education being on offer. So why Canada was your pick out of all of these? And then you have to clearly show as to how many different institutions did you research? Did you look at quite a few institutions? If you did, why did you pick a specific institution? And why are you picking a specific program? If you are already working in a field and now you're doing a graduate level degree for that particular program, makes all the sense. If you are making a change, then you have to have a look at presented as to why are you making this shift. Is it because you've gained experience because of it? Your undergraduate degree was in a different field or whatever the case. So you have to justify your choices. And lastly, in the statement of purpose, the third big reason for rejection where they don't feel that the economic or the family or the professional ties with your home country are strong enough, you have to very clearly talk about your economic standing in your own country or country of residence or country of citizenship, your family connections, and also very clearly state as to once you complete your studies in Canada, that particular education, how is that going to help you increase your employability, increase your earning potential in your country. So give examples of the possible jobs, the possible salaries, the salary structures in that. So working on reapplication, you need to attach stronger evidence in terms of documentation and work on your statement of purpose. So this is the second option, the second step, the reapplication. Lastly, there is an option which is called the judicial review. Now, a lot of applicants of study permit application who are outside of Canada do not know that there is this option available, the judicial review. If you feel that an officer has really had an error of law, the reasoning that they've provided does not really stand well, you can use the services of a Canadian immigration lawyer to apply for a judicial review where your application will be taken to the federal court and it will be presented as to why you feel that justice has not really been done in terms of your application. There are various stages to it. If the government, if the federal court feels that yes, there has been an error of law, they can overturn that decision and can ask another officer to review that application. A lot of times this becomes a precedence and then your application can be approved. This is a more costly option, but this is an option which is available for a lot of people who've been wrong done by certain officers. And this can help you get your refusal decision overturned, but not a lot of people know of this option. So with this, I'll conclude. The three different steps that you could take is first, apply for your ATIP notes, GCMS notes, and see what options what were the reasons for which your application was refused. Secondly, you can decide about going for a reconsideration or a reapplication. If you're going for reapplication, you need to beef up the documentary evidence submitted with it and your statement of purpose. You really need to work on that with a few things in mind, that it was an informed decision. Why did you pick Canada? Why did you pick this particular institution in this course? How will this help you professionally? What is your economic standing in your home country, and what is the likelihood that you will return back to your home country because you'll have better professional opportunities? And lastly, if you feel there is the option of going for the judicial review where you apply to the federal court, that is a decision that has been made against your application, you feel is not the right decision, and then they look at on the basis of law, and the decision can be overturned, and a different officer can be asked to look at your application. So this is all on this topic of Canadian study permit refusal reasons and possible course of action if you have one. I hope I've been able to add some value, and for those of you who've had refusals, if you've had refusals and you would want to know that what could be the possible reasons, I'd greatly like for you to comment in the comment section and mention the reason that you got in terms of your refusal, and we can see that how many people have got which type of refusal reasoning. With this, I'll ask for a leave, and I pray and wish that you and your family stay well wherever you are. Till the next time that we meet, take care, and Allah Hafiz.